Well. Look who's back here DMing randoms on Instagram or Twitter about some of the most fucked up shit you'll ever see. That's Jon Jones. Jon Jones, now that nobody cares about his career, now that everyone knows that he ducked Tom Aspinall, now that nobody cares that he's returning to the USADA testing pool or whatever, Jon Jones, he's got all the time in the world, and the way he chooses to spend that time is to DM randoms on Twitter, I guess, and just talk a bunch of shit because I don't know. I guess he's unemployed at this point. I don't know why he sent this. Like, I don't really understand the full context, nor do I care. But this isn't the first time that Jon Jones has done anything like this. Jon Jones, as we know, is easily rage baited through DMs. Like, if you even post anything like remotely insulting of Jon Jones, chances are you're probably gonna get something like this in the process. And it's really funny. I find these messages hilarious because rage baiting Jon Jones is hilarious. All right. So we're gonna just look through some of the messages that Jon Jones sent this guy named Yadong Power. I don't know where he sent it through. Probably through Instagram or Twitter. Not really sure. But yeah, shout out to Yadong Power for posting these DMs. And without further ado, we're just gonna read some through some of them. How this conversation started was Jon Jones sending this message. And I'm just going to be making my best impression of Jon Jones throughout this entire video. And leave a comment down below if you rate the Jon Jones impression or not. How low is your IQ, really? You're probably in some trailer park somewhere. Why follow me just to say that you don't care what I talk about? I just looked at your name. You're probably not American. How did you get a cell phone anyways? Lol. Thinking about this message, like you gotta think like for someone at Jon Jones's like status, I guess, and just like his influence, like you would think that for him to take his time to send some really like insulting messages to random on Twitter. Like you would think that this guy was just threatening his family or something. But no. According to Yadong Power, this is what he sent to Jon Jones, and this is why this whole argument started in the first place. All right? And I'm be real, this is pretty tame. Now, I don't understand the full context of this message. Apparently, this was a gift in response to Jon Jones returning to the testing pool and just like potentially making UFC comeback to the White House. And I don't think this is insulting at all. If anything, I think this is what do you call accurate as to how everyone feels, unless you're just a blatant Jon Jones glazer, all right? Which in that case, you do you. But yeah, we don't care about Jon Jones returning. Jon Jones will not fight the only challenger that he clearly should be fighting. Therefore, why do we care about Jon Jones? All right, go enjoy Thailand with a bunch of Russian men again. We don't care. We're gonna move on without you, and we're gonna watch Ilya Taporia, who's currently fighting. We're gonna watch Islam Makhachev, who's currently fighting, and we're just gonna watch even Max Holloway and Dustin Poirier, who's gonna fight next weekend. All right, we don't need Jon Jones right now. But anyways, we're just gonna look through the rest of this DMs. All right, this guy Yadong Power called Jon Jones wife beater. Uh, promiscuous cheater, steroid cheat, all of which are accurate. All right, we're not gonna brush that off as like insults because you can't really call these insulting when it's pretty accurate and true. But I don't know. We're gonna look through the rest of the DMs over here. All right, we're gonna move on to the second slide that he showed us. All right. Again, let me just prepare my Jon Jones voice. Sounds like you've been a fan for a long time. My wife is getting her hair and nails done. My kids are playing on their side of the mansion. What are you up to today? And this guy, I know this guy, he just like said, like, you Google your name and all you see is garbage. Which is pretty accurate, Occasionally you'll see the UFC propaganda where Dana White is just going talking about like Jon Jones is the best fighter on the planet by far. Nobody beats Jon Jones. Jon Jones never ducked anybody. And you put Jon Jones in a room with somebody, Jon Jones is always gonna come out. But yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. You can just look up Jon Jones arrest cases, and you'll find plenty of those. But the conversation continues. This guy just saying, "Your kids are scared of you," probably because John Jones beat his wife in front of the children. All right, I'd be scared if one of my parents were beating the other parent up. All right, and we're just gonna look through more of these messages over here, and I like how John Jones, he's like trying to validate that his wife and children love him. All right, to like a complete random, I guess. Like, even if this were true, which let's be honest, like I don't think anyone believes that. Like, what use does John Jones have trying to validate this to this complete random in Yadong Power? All right. I don't really understand why John Jones keeps falling for this rage bait. But at this point, I'm thinking maybe I should rage bait Jon Jones so I can get some content out of this because rage baiting Jon Jones seems pretty fun. All right. Anyways, we're gonna continue. Once again, gotta prepare my Jon Jones voice. That's what you would like to believe. Again, you would love to believe that. Alright? The truth is, I'm a black 6'4" professional athlete, multi-millionaire living in the American dream. Are you living in the American dream? Okay, Jon Jones, if your American dream is just terrorizing women every couple of months, all right, that don't sound like the American dream to me. If anything, I don't want the American dream, if that's what the exact definition is. But anyways, we're gonna continue. More DMs about Song Yadong, our calling Jon Jones a drug cheater, deadbeat dad, whatever insult that you could think of, which is pretty accurate. All right, but we're gonna move on. Now this part was pretty funny because this guy is just talking about how I do drugs and I'm still more successful than you. Right? I mean, you can kind of see this through the DMs here, but I'm just gonna read them in my Jon Jones voice, anyways. All right. Uh-huh. How can a man do cocaine and still become so much more successful than you? And this guy, he's just asking like, who the girl is in the car. Like, if you guys don't know, Jon Jones, a couple of months back, crashed the car, and he's been accused of, you know, vacating a car crash without, like, talking to the police and shit. And Jon Jones, he's just talking about, that was your girlfriend. Your girlfriend it was in my car. She was doing some drugs with me, and then I left her in the car because I crashed, and then it would get caught by the police. I don't understand why Jon Jones has fans, but again, that's another topic for another video. But anyways, Jon Jones really doubling down on the fact that he does a lot of cocaine. All right, and you can kind of see it here throughout these DMs. I wouldn't be surprised if he was on cocaine right now, typing this because only a man who does cocaine would brag about doing cocaine and being successful. If you understand what I'm saying, all right? How can a man do cocaine and still end up being so much more successful than you? Doing cocaine doesn't mean that you can't be successful. Just ask Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor's on the booger sugar 24/7, and here he is, hyping up BKFC promos and making $1 billion. All right, he's successful, and he's doing a ton of Colombian snow. Doing cocaine, if anything, I think kind of means you're successful. Now, I'm not gonna say like your average crackhead down the street is gonna be successful because he's doing cocaine, but again, successful people do cocaine. So if anything, uh, Jon Jones just yapping shit. All right, we're gonna move on. The guy now is bragging about just being arrested so many times. All right, let me get my Jon Jones voice in one more time. I've been into jail so many times, and yet I still have turned out to have a better life than you. Explain that. I mean, okay, I think that's subjective. Like your better life is you beating up women and taking it up the ass by men, Russian men to be exact. I don't think that's a better life. I'd rather be kind of poor and just living like a decent person, like a respectable person, and do what you do, John Jones. But I guess you have a different definition of a success. All right. But anyways, John Jones, still coping, still continuing on about bragging about his time in jail and still turning out to be successful in life. Explain why I could sponsor you and your family and change your guys' entire life. You should be asking me for advice on how to become a winner. Again, I don't care. I really don't care about the fact that Jon Jones happens to have a lot of money. I don't I don't really see Jon Jones being that much more successful. And that's the thing. Imagine Jon Jones just doing half the shit he does. All right? But then the UFC isn't there to back him up. Let's be real, he'd be in prison by now. So, all right, you could say that it's success. You could say that it's all about like, oh, it's just because Jon Jones is a winner. But at the same time, the UFC has had Jon Jones's back throughout like his entire career. If the UFC really didn't care about him, he would be off to jail by now. All right, let's face it. But Jon Jones, anyways, he's bragging about just being a winner in the UFC, which I get. That's kind of a fair point. I would be bragging about that too if I were like a champion in the UFC. But again, Jon Jones, pretentious, egotistical, and overall, he's kind of coping about the fact that even though he was a champion, one of the greatest champions of all time in the UFC, he still gets no respect from fans because, let's face it, Jon Jones is an absolute piece of scum. All right, but anyways, we're just gonna continue on. Jon Jones, he's now talking about his crimes again, and this guy pointing out some of the crimes he's done. Hit and run on a pregnant lady, domestic abuse, steroid cheats. All right, these are all accurate statements. Like I'm not making anything up. He's not making anything up. You can literally look this up online in 10 seconds. But Jon Jones, his response to that is, "I'll let you follow me around and watch what success looks like." Again, quit your yapping, little bro. Nobody wants to follow you, right? Nobody wants to just go around beating up women every few months. Nobody wants to go around just sniffing hair of Russian men in Thailand. Nobody wants to do like what you did outside of the cage, all right? Maybe inside the cage, all right? You were one of the greatest fighters of all time, but let's be honest, you're not exactly a role model that people should be following in order to find success. Bro, you mentioning my past like I actually care. I've made about 6 million since I fought. Alright? Again, who the fuck cares? Alright? Even if it's true, who cares that you made 6 million? Like, genuinely, who cares? Because that's all for you. That don't affect what anyone else thinks of you. If anything, everyone else thinks that you're a pretentious little bastard who only gets to brag about, making a lot of money. All right, because apparently money erases all the fact that you beat up your wife, you had a hit and run with a pregnant lady, you did a shit ton of drugs, uh, you did a shit ton of steroids, and every time you're with a woman, you just find yourself to be in some sort of a violent altercation. All right, but now Jon Jones is over here talking about his reputation doesn't matter anymore. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. This guy just yaps about his reputation every single day. All he talks about is how people should be respecting him as the greatest of all time. I'm like, where is this coming from? All right, let me read this in the Jon Jones impression once again. Reputations are for little girls to whisper about. I'm out here collecting massive checks. Yes, because living like a king helps cope with everything else. Lol. Again, if he really didn't care about his reputation, then he wouldn't be saying those things in public. And then in DMs, he'll be like, my reputation doesn't matter, you guys, because I got a lot of money. Like Jake Paul, for example. Like, you really think Jake Paul cares about his reputation at this point? Fuck no, he doesn't. All he cares about is making money off the fact that people want to see him get potentially knocked out by some 50-year-old retired boxer or MMA fighter. But Jon Jones is not that type of person. Jon Jones, all he cares about is his legacy, all right? But at the same time, he's coping with the fact that nobody cares about his legacy with money, all right? So, Jon Jones, which one is it? Do you actually care about what people have to say? Or do you not give a fuck, or do you want to and just want to make a lot of money? Because it sounds like you care about what people have to say. Again, like if you didn't, then you wouldn't be responding to this guy in the first place. And it's not like all you care about is money, because every time on Twitter, every day, you're out here talking about, oh, I'm gonna be coming back, you guys. I'm gonna be fighting for something much more important than money. I'm gonna be fighting for my legacy or whatnot. Like, quit yapping, little bro. Like, which one is it? Stop lying through your teeth. You're clearly coping, and this is the only way you can express it because at this point, nobody cares about you. Nobody cares. You're unemployed. Go get a job or do anything else. Just stay off Twitter and make sure that you know that nobody really cares about your career at this point because you're not going to be fighting. You're not going to be fighting the guys that we want you to fight, and you're not going to be fighting the guys that the UFC wants you to fight. Therefore, you have no use in the UFC as of right now. All right, y'all. That's going to be it for today's video. Leave a comment down below. Just what you guys think about Jon Jones. I honestly think he's hilarious because it's funny to rage bait Jon Jones. Again, I might think about rage baiting Jon Jones, and I'll let you guys know when I do that so I can make another video about that. But yeah, other than that, make sure to like and subscribe. And until then, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.